Hey guys, Codeberry is here today, so hope you're all doing well. So today we're just going to do a little bit of a recap on Bitcoin. So we're just going to talk about what happened in the last 2 weeks. We'll just go over the weekend, and we'll go over the crash, the flash crash. So there was a flash crash. Went from, what day was it? Actually, we're on the wrong ticker, so we'll go on BTCUSD. So we did have a little bit of a run here. So we did have, here's a crash. There was a flash crash. Went from 57 to 50 something. So there was that was a flash crash, and then after that it had continued up. Then it came a little bit high on the 4-hour, and it basically just touched those upper bounds there on the Keltner channels and continued back for a 50% retracement to the middle band. Now it's kind of thinking, well, what do I want to do? We can see on the 4-hour we have some shorter term indicators coming up overbought. Let's just take a break here for a second, look at the bigger picture. So we still haven't had this MACD cross down. So will it cross down? What do you think? Will it eventually cross down? Well, I still think so. Could we see a little bit of a break here? Maybe. That's pretty far down here, so we'll have some divergence. We'll have some strong divergence here, because as you can see, look at the difference here. There's a lot of difference between these peaks. So if it was to break a little bit higher, and have a look at the volume here. I know I'm jumping around to a lot of different subjects, but you can see the last week, not this week because that week just started, but have look here. Actually, this week not even started yet. It should have started. Oh, it is. Okay, so it's small. Okay, there we go. So the volume's down there. You can see the volume here for the last few weeks, even though it had a little bit of a run. It's low volume compared to these. It's much less. You can tell. Just a heads up here. You can see there's a lot of lower volume compared to here. Look at the crosshairs, and you can see that even at this time, it's more than half for even here, and it's maybe even 5 to 10 times less, or even more than what it was here. So overall average, the buying volume is still down. We have the weekly indicators here, shorter term, coming up pretty high. You can see the default RSI also coming up a little bit high. MACD, we have green, maybe perhaps we're drifting away from that yellow line. From that middle Keltner, we've drifted away pretty far as far as a weekly drift goes. The reason why I was looking at a shorter term short was because the EMA2, it had drifted up to about where it was, and still I can't see that number. I think it's 56. So you can see that EMA2 right now, it's almost it's maybe even almost 7,000 more, almost 7,000 apart from that EMA2. So it will be coming back down at some point. We are getting, as far as months go, you can see, where is it now? Touching that, almost touching that that third outer band there. So we are coming up a little high on volatility. We'll see what November brings, but there's still a little bit left. Again, volume is low. You can see the month volume here. It's quite low, so it seems like this is algorithmic trading here right now. There's not too much of like just normal people buying. It seems like there's actually not a lot of normal people buying. Maybe it's more miners and algorithms and stuff. We do have the monthly shorter term indicators coming up high again, starting to get up quite high with this volume. And we do have the default RSI again. It is above overbought monthly. So once again, it is overbought. We mentioned that if this is pretty strong divergence at this point, because look at the difference in the peaks here. So if we were to get some momentum down, there would be a lot of divergence here. This is extremely divergent, so perhaps this was what it was setting up for initially, was just a divergence, so people can go, okay, well, we're still diverging down. We do have these peak divergence here, still heading down. No cross yet, as we mentioned. So once that does cross, that is the death cross. That does mean several months of decline. Right now we haven't crossed yet, which would mean it wouldn't be a very good time to go long, especially at these levels, right? Who wants to go long here? Well, maybe I'll try to get back down here and see, or even at least there, and see maybe, okay, I'll get some here, get some there. Not going to try to buy some at the top and see what happens. Hope for a lucky break. But you can see also the peak divergence here. And when would be a good time to buy? Well, it would be a good time to buy here at points like this, when the blue line is below the yellow line, it's below the 0 line. We're in the negative histogram zone, so perhaps pretend we're back at this month. So I want to buy when excuse me, so when we're in a negative histogram below 0 line, negative 0 line, and maybe we see some inflection up. We see some signs of inflection. Then that's when you want to look for an inflection point that our slope is changing now from negative to positive infinity. And even here, or even here, more here and here. This is a perfect zone. This is like, okay, I missed it, I want to get some here, right? Look where we are now. We're not at a perfect time for buying, and a lot of people are seeing that. Especially a lot of institutions. If you're a trader, you don't buy here, you wait till it's below that line, so you can have some kind of momentum for at least 6 months to a year. Maybe you'll get a lucky break, but still, usually there's a lot of momentum still to the downside. Could we get a little bit of break? Yeah, we could, of course, but I still think it would come down, especially with the volume. 4 hour, sorry, we'll talk about the week. Again, we're drifting up high. You can note that this is kind of you can see this peak here on this week, the previous week, that tip of that candle is actually higher than this one. So this one could go red just on candle patterns, but I don't trade patterns. But that is a good sign though. Even if it wasn't a pattern, you could just say that it closed higher on the left candle to the right one. It's not a for sure sign to go off though. It's just a note. But you can see these peaks here, we are getting a little high. See when we were up high here, these shorter period indicators, and we came back down. It's pretty common. We are coming high though. It's telling us we're coming high. Weekly RSI also default is coming up high too. I'll remove these lines. There's a lot of divergence here on the default. Note the default slope decreasing. very much. Very much. That's very steep. I haven't seen anything like that before, actually. So there's a lot of negative slope here, and the reason why it's divergent is because we've already come up into support area. Oh, sorry, resistance area. So that's the top of it. That's the main point of it. So if we're coming up high into resistance with a lot of divergence, bearish divergence to negative infinity. So that is something to definitely note. Faster MACD, same thing, but usually with bigger time frames, with divergence, you definitely want to first look at the default one. Faster one also obviously can be good, but you if you have the default one, it's usually a really strong sign that it's very divergent. So again, I'll remove those drawings. We're coming up pretty high. We have low volume. So we could see this coming back down again. And if it does, I think it would probably break here. But at this time, we did talk about that channel. So about last time, we had that channel, something like this. It was maybe not exact, but we did get a break here. And as you can see, we have come up high. So now we're drifting away from these lines. From the go by the moving averages, just use this as a imaginary kind of zone. You can use Ichimoku's if you want. But you can see our support one's down here for weekly, so back at 50 something. And then, so that's resistance, and the next ones would be here at 46. So these are weekly zones. Maybe we'll talk about monthlies as well, quickly. So something like that, and then something like here as well. This would be the main, including that peak. Those would be the main areas to look for. We'll just go over monthly. So where are the monthly supports again? So we haven't really touched down here. So it's still kind of like, okay, well, we had a retracement to that yellow band, almost exact, which is interesting, right? Now we come up to resistance. We're coming up to resistance. So again, our first level of support would be at 58. That's our support one on monthly. 58 to 57. Let's just draw a line in the middle, just because we don't want to draw two lines. So close, and then our next one will be down here, 46. And then our next one is down here at 37. So of course it will come back down. But could we get a little bit more room to the top? At this point, volume is low. We are coming up high. Let's see what the shorter time periods are saying. Day's coming up. The RSI is coming up high. The default RSI, we're coming up high. And we did diverge. Did we diverge? No, we didn't diverge. Not on this time frame. On the bigger time frames, we already are in divergence, but when was this? April, so we are coming up high. I mean, even if it goes up, we just get worse divergence either way. So it's I'm saying stay away. Some people may look for breaks, but there's low volume, so it just seems like it's just algorithmic stuff. Have a look at the daily. We've drifted quite far from that yellow band. We come up quite high, because have a look where we touch that. When we come up that high. So we haven't really even come up that high since July. And before that. Look, we're already coming up high as we are here and here. So we are coming up high. And there was something I did want to note. It was on the 4-hour that we did not come up and touch these bands that this high very often. So we did not ever, we did not for a long time. The last time was July 26th, since it's actually touched that band, and 30th September, so almost 2 months. 2 months, then we got another one here, and then another one basically here. Then we had a quick drop. That was a quick sell-off, so we may see some more action to the downside. We are seeing those the shorter time period indicators coming up high as well, and we did talk about that daily starting to come up high too. So again, just keep an eye on the bigger time frames. Right now EMA2 is quite far down, quite far down. We are drifting far away from the middle line. Again, we're more than half down now. It's more than half, or it's about, yeah, it's a little bit, something like that. It's pretty much half or less than half. We were coming up high. So when we were here, where was it? It's almost roughly where it was, give or take a little bit more. But we are drifting far again, and we haven't seen that cross down. So again, just personally, you wouldn't want to buy here. You would wait for it to come below. Then of course, there could be a long because it's low. Like even here, like not here, but once it corrects, you want to look for some constant slope and then look for some positive slope. So right now there's no slope. It's just kind of going up. We haven't had any crosses down for any retracements for long term. So there's been no crosses back down. And again, look how low these got last time. These got to 40 something. 40, 41, 42. So we're way up here now. We got to 60 last time. So again, there was still at least quite a bit to go for average. So I think this could be coming back down. Let's just look at shorter term. Look, coming up high shorter term. Starting to see some bearish divergence, bearish momentum. A couple hours ago we had a dip. Starting to see some momentum again, shift quite sharp inflection here. Starting to see some divergence. As we said, we're in divergence. So on the bigger time frames you'll see them. So it could be saying, okay, we're coming up into resistance, we're divergence, we're in low volume. Is this where I want to buy? Well, you tell me. So I'll leave you guys with that, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.